Well, hey there, everybody. This is Will, and you're listening to YouTubers United, the podcast by growing YouTubers for growing YouTubers. You may notice that I'm talking a little bit lower than I usually do on these podcasts, and that's because I'm actually in an apartment. I'm living in with a family in Spain right now, and Tristan and I wanted to continue broadcasting these episodes for you, even though I'm not in like the perfect audio setting that you could imagine. So if you hear screaming or, construction noises or just bumps and little things going on in the background, it's because I'm not in my own space. I'm in a shared space, but it's totally worth it because I'm in sunny Spain and I'm having a great time. And we have a really good episode planned out for you guys. We're going to be talking a lot about our current projects and the way that we're trying to change our channels to make them more appealing to a mass audience. And we're really going to be focusing on some of Tristan's art. So before we get into Tristan's art and even distribution strategies later on in the show, Tristan, I wanted to just get a general update from you. I guess it's been a week and a half since we sat down and recorded an episode together. What's been going on for you?
Bienvenido a la España!
Hey!
So you wanted to ask what's going on with me?
Yeah, what's going on with you, man?
Oh, man. Okay, so last week, when what did we do last week? We didn't do an episode. Or we did. But last week, when an episode
flies,
did or
man.
did not occur, I was on break from university, which was fun. But I took it as an opportunity to do a bit of reading up and self-improvement and fixing and all sorts of stuff to kind of retune my YouTube channel. Involves a lot of stuff that we'll probably talk about over the next few episodes, but it's got stuff to do with my relationship with my patrons. It's got stuff to do with my art style. It's got stuff to do with what that whole idea I had for ranking video ideas. That's all changed.
Right.
So there's been a whole lot of stuff and a whole lot of little tweaking to things to turn into quite a beastie video checklist now.
Good stuff, man. I'm looking forward to having that conversation and getting down into the nitty gritty of why you decided to make these changes and what we can be looking forward to in the future. I guess I'll give a quick update on my end is that for the last 2 days, have been operating 100% within the frame of YouTube. So I'm in Spain. My wife is doing her internship, and I'm not teaching. I am just. Yesterday I was just animating and getting my video finished that I just uploaded last night about the Russian Revolution, the February Revolution, that is. And today I went into the park and I was reading about Spanish history in the place where it happened, which was really cool. So I was in the Parque de Retiro, the Retiro Park, and I was just reading a book about Spanish history, and it was fun. There was a map in the book, and I realized that I was within the map in the book. Like the park that I was in was labeled in this book map. So it definitely has a different feel to it when you're in the place and the people around you are speaking the language of the history which you're learning. It's a crazy, awesome experience. I hope to be able to do this more.
Sometime we got to talk about your channel turning from a politics channel to what sounds like a history channel.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely at least morphed into political history over the last few months, but I don't think I can stay permanently only history. It's just been my interest for the last few months, and I just try to do what's working, and I try to build on what is working well for me. But I think we'll get into this in part two. I've been generally a little bit frustrated, I think, in knowing which direction to go, and that's really a sucky feeling to have when you're at approaching 60,000 subscribers and you're still kind of like, what is my genre? But yeah, somebody posted a comment on my new video. They said, given your name, I was skeptical of your history videos, but I'm glad I stuck around, something to that extent. And it reminded me, I'm the political junkie, and here I am, posting what is political history, but still anyone would describe it as history and not pure politics videos like you would expect from my name. So that's something we could probably talk about in the future segments. You also have a video coming out tomorrow, don't you?
Yes. So the long-running cynical historian slash Step Back History collaboration series is finally coming to an end. The Return of the King is coming out tomorrow, and it's about the collapse of the Soviet Union. And if there's one thing I've learned is that if you talk about the Soviet Union in a video, it does two things. Brings out lots of views, and it brings out lots of hate comments, either by diehard communists or by diehard anti-communists, I guess, internet libertarians.
Yeah, yeah. I've already had a little bit of experience with those people today. The very first comment, which if I was soliloquy giving out plaques, I'd have to give it out to someone who posted a link about how all the revolutionaries in Russia were Jewish. So I'm glad I don't have that system going on my channel.
Oh yeah. So this is coming.
It's always fun when you talk about Soviet Russia.
Yeah, it's true. There's people have strong feelings about that country, one way or another. So I'm also coming to the end of an era in the Step Back History channel. So if loyal viewers will probably remember that I talked a little bit about Step Back 2.0.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Oh, I remember.
And it began with my changing my art style a little bit, but also was a whole rotating process of changing the process of making a Step Back video from the ground up, and involved slowing down and really adding a lot of quality to each step in the process. So at the moment, this video coming out tomorrow is the last Step Back 1.0 video.
Mm-hmm.
From this video onward, yeah, it's scary, but it's also exciting because it's the last video that I'm in my comfort zone. So my next video, everything is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's terrifying.
It is. Before we get into what exactly will be different, and we're going to actually ask for the audience's help. We're going to ask for, why am I referring to them as hey, you person listening? We're going to ask for your help here in just a second. We want to get some of your opinions on some of this Step Back 2.0 stuff. So we're going to give you that chance in a second. But Tristan, one of the things that I thought we'd focus on with this segment is not just on the practical, here's what is going to change, but also kind of the mindset that goes into it. And I guess you talked about it when we very first brought up Step Back 2.0, but I want to ask you again, what is your reason for feeling like you need to change? Because I'm in a mindset right now where I feel like I need to change. And so I kind of wanted to know, what was it that drew you down this path of totally redoing some of your art style?
Well, all right. Well, this is a story all about how my life got turned upside down, and I just think...
Take a minute and sit right there and tell us about how you became Step Back 2.0.
So I was pretty comfortable with how Step Back was looking and sounding and doing back in November of last year. Then a friend of mine made a video about the Berlin Wall that exploded and rocketed him towards the 60,000 subscriber mark. And I realized, so I realized that I was kind of getting comfortable and complacent, and that I wasn't doing what every YouTuber should be doing, which is trying to at least improve with every video. And I was kind of hitting the trickle, but the trickle was going for a bit longer than I was comfortable. So when we did the first couple episodes of this show, I realized that, you had a method that was much slower, much more deliberate, and much more focused on quality. And I realized I was the only animated education channel that didn't have a team of people behind each video that was publishing as often as I was. PBS has a weekly release schedule with their channels, but they also have at least 5 people working on each channel.
That amazes me. Just as a side note, it amazes me that I get a lot of comments saying, hey, I like your channel. I wish you'd upload more. And I just think someone was like, maybe once a week, if you could. And I was like, are you kidding me? There's just so much that goes into these videos behind the scenes. I don't think people, I could go on this rant every episode, but yeah, a lot of the big YouTube channels out there nowadays are big teams of people. And I think the risk is that us little guys are going to get eaten up, but that's another topic for another time. In the end, having what we call an iterative process and adapting and trying new things, I think is the only way to survive in this medium. And it can be in any number of ways. So when it comes to writing, I've changed up my writing before. I've changed up my art style. I've brought my face in, and some of those changes have gone over time. So not everything happened at once. I brought in the little animated figures for Islam. I brought my face in for the Nader video. I brought in my blue background and really honed in on that blue color frame that I've been using now for months in the last couple videos. And things have been evolving for me, and there may be an evolving in topics coming up, but you've decided really to make a jump. From one upload to the next, you're going to be really making a big change. And I think one of the things that I wanted to address before it happens is I want to get your prediction on what do you think your audience will do? How do you think your audience will react to something totally different in their face?
So I have actually shown my new art and my new kind of stuff to a few people, and I've gotten a much more positive response. See, what I think I'm doing is I'm not exactly changing my channel as much as I'm making it way less lazy and better. So
that's a change, by the way.
yeah, so for the people who like Step Back, what I'm hoping is they'll like it more, and it'll be a better version of what they have been expecting all along. Now, the way that I approach improvement in kind of a similar way that you have is that I have this super huge, very sublisted, very long checklist of how to make a video. And I am always tweaking the template because I have a program called My Life Organized, which is what I used for organizing everything I do. And you can make template checklists, and I just make a new one every time a new video comes out, or every time I go to start, a new video. And so I'm always iterating. Every time I watch like a YouTube guru give a good piece of advice that I can add to it or something like that, I change the template, and then it'll show up the next time I make a new video.
Mm-hmm. We operate in such a different way. I do have checklists in my life, but when it comes to my videos, there, besides uploading and just the stuff that has to be manually done, I don't have a checklist for my videos. As far as choosing topics, but I know you are very involved with making decisions, and you have a point system, and there's just a lot that goes into to each individual choice when you're making your content.
Yeah, I'm a robot. It's no two ways around it. I've always tried to figure out. But the reason I'm trying to do this, the reason I have the checklist, the reason I do this is because I am very, very dedicated to, one, making sure that my videos have a consistent quality. So if I am always iterating on a checklist where I am doing the same actions for every single video, and I am always iterating on that, hopefully I am never making a video that is worse than a video I've made before.
For
And
sure.
and I also have a lot of systems in place to like look back at my older content and redo stuff. And that's another thing I've started doing too, is going through my older videos and touching up the tags and the titles and making new thumbnails and things like that too.
So one of the things that I know about human psychology, because I took a psychology class my first year of college, was is that when there are changes, even if they're good changes, people will react to them, and sometimes they'll react negatively just because it's like, oh no, something that I liked is different. Have you considered how you'll kind of handle the PR side of this when you upload the next Step Back 2.0 video and people say, what the hell happened? Do you, even if, maybe they'll come to enjoy it, just that gut reaction, have you figured out a way to address that?
Well, this new art style is very reflective of a couple things. It's me trying to... it's reflective of the fact that I have put a lot of effort and I've been taking courses and stuff on how to improve at Illustrator. So my vector art's a lot better, but also it's kind of going on the same path of me incorporating more original art into each video. And I'm hoping that anybody who says they don't like it will at least be able to acknowledge that this is a sign of, like, this is a much better made drawing than what I've been doing before. And I hope that I know I've gotten some mixed reactions when I was playing with my new art style. Like I know that you had kind of a lukewarm response to it
I
before a
did.
couple iterations.
But you know, I only do that out of love because I don't want to be like a yes man. We'll talk about this in a, well, I guess we can talk about it now, but
Well, first
I,
let's talk about your
yeah,
PC because
sure.
you are
Oh,
right
yeah,
now. This is the first episode where you're in Spain. So now this podcast has been done in Canada and Spain and Germany.
it
So
has.
we were talking a little bit about your laptop that you are now making this podcast on. So how is it? How is it?
Dang,
And
man, that was one hell of a transition of topic. Yeah. It's amazing. It wasn't cheap, but I didn't it was the first real big investment, well, the second real big investment I made into improving my channel. The first was a camera and this microphone, and now I've invested in this laptop, and it's amazing. So I was in the middle of uploading or animating a 20-minute video about the Russian Revolution. And my workflow involves going back and forth between Illustrator, After Effects, and Premiere Pro, right? So edit audio in Audacity. I bring it into Premiere Pro. Then I want to animate something, so I go design it in Illustrator. Then I bring those layers into After Effects, and that is really hard to do when your computer only has 4 gigs of RAM. Which that's random access memory. I think for anybody who's not computer literate, it's basically what kind of horsepower equivalent of a computer in a way. And this computer itself I've bought has, not only does it have 16 gigs of RAM, which is not the best, but it's pretty good. It has 6 gigs of video RAM, which from my research on the graphics card says that means good things. If to put it in layman's terms, that's really good. The video graphics card itself has more RAM than my old computer had in total. So basically, when I was buying this thing, I was looking for big numbers, and I clicked on those, and I have this product now. So it's not 1070 processor, it's 1060, and it's i7 processor, 1060 RAM. It's great. It basically was taking the animation that I was painstakingly doing on my old computer, and it was laughing at it. I can now I can preview in HD if I want, but the computer can handle it. But in general, I just preview in not grainy. If that makes sense to anyone who's done any video editing, when you like play back something you've created, oftentimes it's super grainy or it's slow to load, and this computer just kind of handles it. And that really helped me in getting over the finish line yesterday when I was trying to put the final touches on my February Revolution video. So I couldn't be happier. The only downside to this thing is that it is really heavy, and it does not fit into like a backpack. I don't exactly know what the weight is. Sorry, I kind of went away from the mic there for a second. It's really heavy. It fits only in an actual suitcase and not into like a carry-on bag. So it's portable, but not like conveniently portable. But it's got the power behind it to really get what I need done. And so that's why I'm super satisfied that I went ahead and made this jump.
you excited? So you kind of talked a little bit about it, but like, what was the process of like going and looking for a laptop? Like, what kind of research did you do?
Well, I just looked and I wanted to see what the newest generation of graphics cards were, and if it was worth going up to that current generation, because there were some good deals on laptops that were just one generation behind on graphics cards, and I was thinking I could save in some cases literally hundreds of euros or dollars if you prefer, or Canadian dollars if you prefer, for taking something that's one generation old. And I opted not to do that. I opted to go ahead and get the newer graphics card, to get the video RAM, to get the right amount of just general RAM and the right processor for me. I didn't cut any corners because I wanted to have the right machine. And so my research process really was just kind of, I honestly typed in, this is a little embarrassing, but I typed in video editing PC Reddit into Google and just saw what some of the recommendations were. And I kind of just used that as a jumping point. So I saw what brands and versions were being recommended. I went on to Amazon. I looked up alternatives to those, maybe tweaked what I wanted. And then I YouTubed, go figure, some reviews for the products that I found. And between Reddit, Amazon reviews, my own, fledging but present knowledge of PCs, and and just general reviews on the internet, I was able to find the information I needed to make the purchase. The challenging thing with laptops is, of course, they're laptops. So a PC, it's easy to stuff whatever hardware you want into a PC and kind of get the result you need. A laptop, it's not so easy because in the end, portability is the feature that is most needed. So you have to be, sometimes you pay to get what you want. And in this case, I did pay, but it was worth it.
I imagine you chose a laptop because I imagine in your near future the whole digital nomad lifestyle might be in your
Dude, that's my dream,
eyesight.
honestly. Besides I am doing my master's next year and the year after, presumably. So I won't be like 100% digital nomad, but that idea of being able just to go where I want to go and take my work with me is super appealing. And I'm kind of getting a flavor of that in the next month and a half here in Madrid and then later in Amsterdam. And so far, I like it. I like being able to just, yeah, work on the go. Granted, it's still a fresh thing for me. I've been planted in my office in Germany until this weekend, but in my first 48 hours of being kind of free, it's been amazing. And if I could just be totally authentic and open with you, our friends listening to us, this is the lifestyle that I would like to have at some point. I don't have it now. It's not feasible at this point, but buying this laptop is definitely part of achieving my self-employment dream of being totally independent of border and really only dependent on Wi-Fi to get the job done and to make a little money.
Yeah, and I should say to our subscribers, I think we should refer to them as the union.
The union. Yeah, the syndicate.
The union, the YouTubers United Union.
There we go.
I asked this because I'm coming up on some major changes I want to make to my channel, which involve some purchases. This might be a topic for a future episode,
Money.
but I am considering making the jump to some live action stuff.
Ooh. Dude, when you sent me, because of course, Tristan and I talk a little bit about our stuff before we jump on live recording. And when he sent me that last night, it was a little late, and he was like, "I want to do live action on my channel," and I immediately imagined like History Channel reenactments of like you pay people to like dress up like it's the Civil War, and I was like, "Oh my god,
no,
dude, that's
no.
one hell of a revamp."
No, but I have had a handful of ideas. I don't know if I'll, spoil anything, but there's some places I'm traveling to. There are some things in my hometown. And not to mention, there are just some ideas that I think only work if I were in live action. And I want to experiment with it. And I think that aside from lights, which, I'll get at some point, you can do most of what you want to do with live action now with just like, a decent phone. And I have a decent phone. So I'm just getting some accessories like a tripod that holds cell phones and a lavalier mic and a pocket recorder. And I'm hoping that I can do a lot with those.
I would assume that you can, but I don't. Like, I tried to record a couple videos with my phone and had limited success. My original videos were just iPad. It was my inner iPad camera. Even I was too stupid to know that the inner camera was less high resolution than the outer camera. But I mean, is your phone capable of 4K? Not that you have to have it. I'm just curious.
I think it's capable of HD, but I'm not sure about 4K.
Okay. I mean, that was just an extra question. I think you could do very well with just a normal camera and a selfie stick if you had to. But yeah, you're gonna get a tripod, so that would be a nice up. Have you considered one of the things that I found when filming outside, and I would not say I have a solution to this yet. If you watch my video about Ralph Nader, you'll notice about halfway through the video, the location shifts slightly, and that's because I was desperately trying to get into the shade. And I think part of filming outdoors in live action is just preparing for the changes in the environment, whether it be sounds, we had the sounds of like the German Autobahn in the background that were distracting, birds chirping, joggers running by, and then of course the moving sun. Filming for a 5-minute video can take a couple hours if you're being diligent. And so changing your location or changing the settings on the camera or putting like something like ISO on automatic can be really make or break when you're editing something that you filmed outdoors. So those I think will be your first challenges, even when you're doing that with a cell phone.
Well, let's say this. I have a trip that I'm going to want to record some stuff on in late May, early June.
Right.
And I have a few ideas for stuff that I can do at home, but I really want this to work because I'm going to be taking this equipment into, not to put too specific a point on it, but I'll be taking it into a jungle. And I want to make sure that I, can get as much good footage as possible.
He means New York City, the concrete jungle.
Yes, exactly. That's what I meant. But
Well, I'm sure it'll be fun either way. And I think people appreciate, like, for example, Tom Scott is one of those channels that he's always on the go. And I think people appreciate the fact that he goes to the places that he discusses. I think that has a positive effect and lends authority to what you're talking about. I wish that I could have filmed my February Revolution video in in St. Petersburg, that is. And I am filming my next video in Spain about Spain. And I like the idea of it. I don't know if it will reflect like directly into more views, but I think from my perspective and hopefully from the astute viewers' perspective, it definitely will make whatever you film in whatever jungle you go to really stick out.
it's exciting. I can't. It's my next. It's not Step Back 2.0. This is a new thing that, if I can get it to work, will kind of address some other things that I was talking about, and we'll talk a little bit about it later in the episode. So maybe we should change gears and go into.
We are going to be posting in the show notes some of Tristan's potential new Tristans. That is, he's been redesigning himself, his like puppet for his channel as part of his redesign for his channel, and he's given a few possibilities. And I'm sure there's more even since we last talked about it, Tristan. But you wanted to put maybe a couple of those in the show notes and let people maybe email us ytunitedpodcast@gmail.com or Twitter us at ytunitedpodcast, which one they like the best. How does that sound?
Sure. This is kind of what I was showing you as like an escalation. Like, it was just me tweaking and redesigning. But what it would be really good to show is how the design has changed over a few days of playing with it, and some feedback and like redesign cycles. Because I'm actually pretty happy with the one I have now.
Yeah. I mean, have I seen the one that you have now? Because we haven't talked about this in about 4 or 5 days, I don't think.
Yes, you have seen the latest design.
Okay, because I will say, we referenced it earlier. The first one you sent me, I literally did not know that's what you were going. I thought you were sending me a picture of Leon Trotsky that you had drawn. And and so I was like, when you said it's me, I was like, oh no, this can't be. But that wasn't meant to be mean. It was just meant to be like, I'm glad you're changing, but let's keep working. And so I did like it. By the third one you sent me, I was definitely feeling much better. You got some advice as well in our Slack group as well. What sort of tips were they giving you there in that space?
Okay, so when I look at my design process from here on out, I started off being like, all right, I'm now in the part of my vector design course where like I know a lot more about gradients and about how to make things look the way I want them to look. And so I decided, what if I just like redrew my character? How would it look? And then I did it, and it looked to me a lot better, or at least like a much better art, like much better skill behind it.
It looked much more deliberate. Like even the fact that the mouth had variation in the pink, or whatever you want to call it, the dark red, that was the tongue and the back of the throat. Even like just the fact that you changed that was a major. It was like, oh, detail. That's great. So that was really nice to see. I don't have much detail in what I do, but I definitely can recognize it when I see it.
So yeah, I mean, I do spend more time with animation because of the nature of our channels, so it makes sense. I also like played around. I showed it to my wife. I showed it to our little Slack community, and I had some feedback. People weren't too sold on the hair. They weren't too sold on the beard. I tried to simplify the beard too much and just made it kind of half my face. People didn't like that. And so I brought back some of the shapes from the old design, kept the new design, kind of rejiggered the glasses and the eyes and the body shape, and people seem pretty happy with it. And then I started drawing. I'm doing the art assets for my next video. And I drew this picture of England and France, kind of personifications of England and France talking to each other. And I loved it. And I was so happy looking at it. And I thought it was amazing. And it made me feel really optimistic about this art style going forward.
Good, man. Very good. If you want to see some of this iterative drawing that Tristan is doing, go ahead and take a look at the show notes right now. Is there anything else we want to talk about when it comes to Step Back 2.0?
Yeah, there's a few things that I would like to run by you to see if you are interested or if you think that this makes sense.
Hell yeah, dude. Hit me up. Let's see what's going on.
So I've watched a few videos and watched like a couple of like these like hour and a half long YouTube Guru videos. And a few of them had to do with building community, building a relationship with your patrons, and just in general, how to make your scripts more engaging, increase the watch time, or what's the retention rate?
Audience retention.
So improve the audience retention and also build a community and also try to make a little bit more money. So I've added to my script the first things that I'm going to do when I write a script. I have a length that I'm going to hit for too, because I found that the average length of a high rated in search results video based on 1.3 million videos analyzed is 14 minutes and 50 seconds.
That's really interesting.
So I'm going to try to make all of my videos at the very least 10 minutes, but somewhere within 1 or 2 minutes of 14 minutes and 50 seconds.
Okay. That's your first proposition?
Yes. The second thing is I'm going to be adding a few more calls to action and things like that into the scripts in order to help with having a better conversation with my community, because that's one part that I feel I'm left out on a bit. And so I'm planning on, in the first paragraph, in the first 10 seconds of the video, trying to lay out some questions to keep the audience intrigued, say a few keywords because of the whole closed captioning,
SEO
spiders.
thing.
Yeah. And also trying to offer some sort of value proposition, some sort, tease at some sort of really cool story so that they're more inclined to watch it all the way to the end.
Okay, yeah.
So those are all things I want to put at the beginning of my videos.
Uh-huh.
What do you think of that?
Okay, so as far as calls to action go, I am still adapting my style of calls to actions, but I have the feeling that the more calls to action you give, the less likely people are going to do them. So I feel like 1 or 2 at the most should be in any given video. If you want people to comment, make that the only call to action. If you want people to subscribe, make that the only call to action. And I don't know if that's totally provable. I don't have enough data because I don't upload enough, but I've just found that in general, if I just stick to one thing, it always seems to go over better. When you say you want to add more calls to action, what do you mean exactly? You mean like encourage people to comment more and before the video is over? Is that what I was picking up from what you were saying?
Well, this is just stuff I want to do too. This is more of my trying to increase retention.
Okay.
The other part, and also a little bit to rank the video.
So what's the call to action? What does the call to action have to do with the audience retention?
Oh, I'm getting to the call to action part.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So at the end of a video, this is based on Tim Schmoyer's video on calls to action, where he said you should probably only have 2. So I have one should be for non-subscribers and one should be for subscribers.
Well, that's a good idea. I never thought of it that way.
And the one for non-subscribers is obviously to subscribe.
Yeah. I never thought of that. That's actually really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. The second one, I actually have a random call to action from a list. And so I have a list of calls to action, and I'll choose one at random or cycle through them or something in order to have all the things that I want subscribers to do to come through. And I got a list here, and that is mention that I have the t-shirt store, mention YouTubers United, telling them to share it, telling them about Patreon, telling them about the notification squad stuff now with the whole bell thing, which is
Yeah,
now
yeah.
the big
That's
thing
one of
everyone's going to
my
do.
that's one of my calls to actions for a future video.
Something about Step More Back, which is a second channel I am thinking of doing for kind of things that don't fit Step Back, but I just want
When
to
do we
like
step
toss
farther
stuff.
back?
It's just for people who really like Step Back and want to see some just random stuff. Nothing that would
Okay.
like nothing earth shattering. It's kind of like CGP Grade 2 or something like that. I haven't even got
Okay.
it going yet, but that's the plan. And also Subscriber Appreciation Day, which is something that we'll talk a little bit more when we talk a little bit about live streaming later in the episode. And then I also have this not as a call to action, but maybe I should put it in there, and that is mention that there's an affiliate. And my plan is to get more out of the affiliate program with Amazon and maybe reference a book that I used in the research and mention that there's a link that you can go to in the description to click on and buy the book and maybe monetize a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
Does that count as a call to action in and of itself?
Yeah. I think also your Patreon announcement at the beginning of the video counts as a calls to action. Granted, it's in every video, but I still think it counts.
I'm going to get rid of the Patreon thing at the beginning of the episode.
I feel like if it becomes ubiquitous, people won't see it, if that makes sense. Anybody who's seeing your channel for the first time will not be donating to you on Patreon, most likely. And anybody who comes a lot will have the Patreon announcement blend in because they'll be used to it. So I don't know. I think my plan once I launch a Patreon later this year is to be making personal appeals about it at the end of videos as a solo call to action with nothing else involved. Granted, I have no idea, Tristan. I have no idea how much, if any, I will be getting from Patreon when I launch. But my plan at the moment is to emulate a bit of what I think the Nerd Writer is the best example I know, where he's got his highly produced videos, but then he's basically just got a webcam video at the end, which says, hey guys, every dollar counts. And that's totally true. And I hope to emulate that when I
That sounds
I
like a
do
good
it.
idea. I have a plan. So at the end of my videos, I have this plan to basically have something where I do that, but also shout out like my patrons, patrons who pay a certain amount and have like a little bit of a credits thing.
Yeah.
And also maybe highlight one comment from the previous video or someone who shared my video on Twitter or Reddit.
Uh-huh.
All these things feel like the right thing to do, but I feel like all of them together feels like a bit much. And I'm thinking then, if that's the case, then maybe I should. The patrons always come first. So I always mention the patrons, but maybe only do one other type of shout out from
Especially
like a random
now,
list.
YouTube's kind of given you the answer to this question already. It's given both of us, it's given all YouTubers an answer to this question, and that is you can do whatever you want in terms of calls to action, but you got about 20 seconds, yeah? Because the new end cards won't allow you to put anything beyond the last 20 seconds of a video. So if you have a long call to action, then your chances of someone clicking on that end card to go see the next piece of content is dramatically reduced because you only have 20 seconds. So I think, yeah, trying to stuff too many things into one end of a video is just a recipe for disaster. So I think reducing is
Well,
the best
here's
way to
an
go.
interesting idea. This comes to mind just right now.
Yeah.
Is that maybe I don't keep Patreon as part of my regular calls to action. I have two calls to action: to subscribe or do one other thing, depending upon what their thing is. The other possibility is, ask them a question to encourage comments.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to the shout outs, mention the patrons. These are the patrons who are paying $10 or more plus, like, with $5, they get like their name on the credits at the end. But then also maybe highlight one comment, one thing, but not mention Patreon. But since I have my patrons that I'm reading them out, like that's kind of a reference that there's a Patreon without explicitly telling them to go.
Okay, I guess, yes. I think one of the advantages we have with the new cards as well is Patreon at the end can be just like a link with the end card. It doesn't have to be even mentioned. It can just be there, just like the subscribe button or the best for view or video. So you can always have Patreon somewhere in the video, but yes, like you're saying, you don't always have to be pushing it directly unless that is your focus. I I've noticed the reason that I have this philosophy is not just because I've heard other people say be reductionist with the calls to action, but in my own experience with collaborations, I've done a few, and the collaborations where I just focused on the one thing, go to this person's channel and subscribe. That has done a lot better for me than when I tried to give people multiple things to do and to go visit the other person and to watch this other video and to I can see that in my analytics, which I don't have right in front of me, that there was a difference. So my big thing would be to reduce as much as possible, just from my limited personal experience with my channel.
So if there's so many boxes to check, but you only have like, spot for maybe 2 per video,
Yeah.
then having a list that you kind of just rotate through each video.
Well, yeah, having a goal in mind for each upload. What is, my last video, my call to action was to push people towards this podcast, which I'm giving all this high-minded advice. I think we got like 10 new subs from that. Whatever. The point is that was my goal for my call to action, and that's the only thing that I pushed, as far as I know, in throughout the entire video, except maybe like check out this book, but that wasn't really a call to action. So I forgot what I was going with that, but yes, I think you have a goal in mind, and it's not just about having like a list you cycle through, but really thinking, what is my priority right now? Especially for me, I'm thinking in the next few months before launching my Patreon, I need to be focusing on, the notification bell was something already in my mind, because I want to get that call to action done, maybe even have it twice before I start asking people to donate money at some point and to invest financially in me. I want to make sure that I'm having my priorities now before my preoccupation becomes something else. And really, to use a German word here, Zeitgeist, like the ghost of time here, what is the most important to you right now? And not just being mechanical about it, but being strategic about it.
So then when it comes to things like shout outs at the end of a video, if I'm going to be naming my patrons every time, do you think that there is any room, since there's probably only going to be like at this moment 2 people who would be getting shouted out, that I could mention either a really good comment from a previous video or somebody who tweeted my video or someone who put it on Reddit? And that's kind of a way to encourage people to like, it's just reminding like, thank you for that person, to this person who posted my video on Reddit.
Yeah,
And then,
I think we talked about this last week with Amy Schmittauer and her video that advises to engage in that way at the end of the videos. Yeah, I think if you could like, I think I get what you're saying. You're saying, can I like merge these two things together? Like, rather than just saying, please share my video on Facebook, which I don't know why you would have that as your call to action, but just as an example, rather than saying, please share my video to Facebook, say, thank you to this user who left me a comment saying, I just shared your video to Facebook and you should too. So like merging that together somehow as a wordsmith, I don't see why not.
It feels like it's a call to action that feels less like a call to action. So it's not like it's not dividing up their attention. You have your 2 calls to action that are like explicit, like you should do this, but then also just saying, and X on Facebook said this, and I just wanted to point that out by sharing my thing. And then that doesn't explicitly tell them to share this video on Facebook, but what it does is it's saying, putting in their minds, oh, like this is a person who sometimes highlights comments for people who share the video. So if I do it, then maybe that will, and good comments and things like that too. Sometimes like PBS goes to like an nth degree. Do you know Idea Channel? Mike Rugnetta's channel with PBS?
I don't. No.
Every week when he releases a video, he releases another video like 2 hours or maybe like an hour before. And it's just an entire video of him responding to comments from the video of last week.
Jeez.
And it seems to go really successful for him, but also because his channel's very like philosophical and about like media theory and everything like that. So maybe it works just because it's him.
Yeah.
But
It
that's
seems
just
like
something
the
that's
kind of
there.
content that would go in the community tab at some point. I think the other thing to keep in mind here, and I'm not accusing you of not having this mindset, but just I think it's always helpful to remember every now and again that when we talk about community building, of course there are advantages. So if you have a strong community, people are more likely to share your content, as one example. But I do think it's also important to remember that creating a community is in and of itself an end. So having actions at the end of a video that build community and having people come back to your content at times is and should be enough. That is to say that building a community isn't like a means to an end of getting more shares, but rather you're just happy to have those people there enjoying your content and you're enjoying making the content for them. And that's just something that I try to remind myself at all times, because in the end, yes, I am going to ask my community to do things for me. But I want to make sure that I don't forget that just having like that first person who was, I think Traveler Finder was the first person, first YouTube account that really engaged with me on a consistent basis. And just having that moral support of someone saying, I like what you're doing, helped me a lot when I was still really small. And so I think that there's not to be too sappy here, but there is value and an emotional and psychological value just to having people there, not just to have them share content, you know?
Well, yeah, what I'm saying is secondary, because the main thing that you want to do is what I'm saying is by doing these kinds of things, I'm also helping tinder a little bit of community by pointing out
Yeah.
community members who are doing great things and giving them the recognition they deserve.
Of course, of course. I wasn't suggesting you
espe-
weren't, of course. Yeah.
Especially for the people who, do the ultimate thing of like liking me enough that they actually give part of
Yeah.
their salary to help Step Back go. So
Yeah.
I just want to be able to thank everybody, but not like have the beginnings and endings of my videos feel like all jumbled and crammed. And so that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to balance out right now.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think that's super important to just be crystal clear in what you want. And I've tried to remove clutter in my videos a lot. You mentioned earlier like keywords in the beginning of videos and things, or in the in the text. And of course there is value to having keywords in a script. I don't know if just stuffing them in there is good, but like I tried that actually. If you watch some of my videos, even our collaboration, there was a time when I started off every video with, this video is going to explain the Iowa caucus. This video is going to explain his history of Islam. And granted, that kind of became a thing that I enjoyed doing, and it kind of became a hook. But the original idea was to keyword stuff. Like the first time I did that, I don't remember when it was. I had just heard some tip that said keywords in your text and your subtitles will help. And so I tried to adapt my script to do it. And I think a few videos ago, I decided that was it was black hatty and it wasn't actually helping. So I guess my only tip would be stay true to yourself. And if you do slip keywords in, of course, make sure that that's done in a natural way. Because I think that there's a tendency maybe to be a little awkward if you're trying to stuff things into a script that don't actually, or weren't actually naturally put there in the first place.
Yeah. I guess I'm just trying to be more it's all telling me to just be more intentional about the first 10 seconds and realize, these are the things you should be doing with the first 10 seconds.
Yeah, I was thinking about this question for my own channel. I don't know if I mentioned this, but my most recent upload, in terms of animation, sound, and music, and even research, I was satisfied with what I did. But in terms of the first 10 seconds, the last couple of videos I've had trouble deciding what to put there. My Jackson video, I was very deliberate in putting one of my animations at the beginning to try to up that audience retention for the first 20 seconds. And because in the end, my videos, my audience retention graph is a steady, trail down a mountain, right? There's no dramatic drop-offs, except there's always that peak at the beginning where I'm losing people. And so I've been trying to retool to get people to stay. And I feel like any awkwardness probably doesn't help, and unless it's like intentional to like grab attention. And I've also, I've tried stuffing animation at the beginning and try to make sure that people know, oh, this is animated. And my last video, I just used my face again and a picture, I think. So I've been mixing it up trying to see what can help that first 10 seconds. We should do a segment on the first 10 seconds in a future episode because it's so critical. And I'm sure that there are plenty of YouTubers out there that could give us some tips on how to keep people engaged at the beginning of a video.
I agree. I like that. All right.
I'll add it to our
So,
list of topics.
yeah, let's talk a little bit about streaming. So, one of YouTube's newest features is something called the Super Chat, which is where someone can give a tip to a creator who is doing a live stream, and it'll show up and it'll like pin their comment to the top of the chat room for a while, and it's a thing, and it doesn't make much sense to us as like, people who make syndicated YouTube videos, but it does make sense if you consider this world that I've been looking into, which is the growing world of people using YouTube to live stream. And there's a lot of advantages to it. There's a lot of YouTubers who also like maybe dabble in Twitch now and then, but this is like a way to directly like notify your subscribers that you're live. And when you make a stream, when it finishes, if you want it to, you can keep it up as a YouTube video. No one's going to watch it, but it's a thing that you could do. And YouTube is obviously investing a lot into it. And apparently, if you do a stream like that, it's counted as watch time. And if you do something live, the longer you do a live show, lots of people come out, and that racks up a lot of watch time. And I was thinking the other day, with all these people, with every YouTube guru, I had like 4 videos in a row basically say that the most important thing is to stay consistent and have a weekly schedule. Is this a possible solution to do that when, maybe our videos take a bit more time than would be possible otherwise?
I never thought about that. No, it's not. Not to be so denial. I'm sure live streams on occasion are a good thing, but I just have a general. I feel like for our type of content, except for when we're just trying to do something community based on occasion, I don't see the value in live streaming as much as maybe some of the YouTube gurus do. Even if it does count towards watch time, I feel like what live streams generally amount to is just unedited, usually low caliber content, just spaced out. And there's some people that love live streaming, and I do watch occasional live streams. I'm not saying there's no value ever to a live stream. I've done them and I've had fun, but what I am saying is that in general, like, they can never ever supplant or replace what would be a
Real
normal
content.
schedule. It can never do that for me.
So I'll tell you a few examples of what people could do with live streaming, and you tell me what you think. So there's a channel called Folding Ideas, and this is a guy who went to film school. He does a lot of film and video game criticism.
Okay.
And what he does is he streams him doing like playthroughs of games on YouTube. So he streams him and he'll show up on the channel. And then after he's done, he'll go through his stream, find like a 15-minute highlight where he went on some really awesome tangent or something like that. And he'll upload that. So he'll find like one gem out of the stream and put that up as a video. And this
Right.
is what I think he's doing to keep his content and keep his connection with his audience a little more regular when he only makes maybe a video every 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
It
yeah.
works a lot because he does media. He does
it's- yeah,
pop
it's
culture
game.
media stuff.
It's gaming, you said, right?
He talks about games and movies.
Okay.
The other one I have, and this is something that I'm experimenting with, and this is something that I would like to hear some feedback on, and this is something that I like called, I did a stream on New Year's Day, and
Yes.
a lot of people came out, and they really liked it. And it was really popular when it was going. And I got requests to do it more often. And what I was thinking was, you said community events. One of the things I've been thinking of doing is having, like, at the last Sunday of the month, something called Subscriber Appreciation Day, which is basically a live stream where I will, sit with and talk about my stuff and answer questions from any subscriber once a month.
Okay. So once a month, let's talk about that once a month thing. So I have very strong opinions on this. because I'm in the mindset right now of where can my time go and how can it be most, valuably utilized, not just in a monetary way, but in like what's going to be the best for my channel. And so I would wonder if you, because how long was your New Year's live stream? 3 hours, 4 hours?
It's like 2.5.
2.5. Okay, sorry. Yeah, 2.5. Okay, let's say 2.5. Let's just go with two. Let's say that you took 2 hours out of your Sunday once a month to do a live stream. Yes, community content. I think that that's not a bad idea. I think the question you have to ask yourself is how often, because for me, I could take that would be then 8 hours in a month perhaps, and I couldn't finish or write a video or produce a video, but I could definitely get 8 hours of work done in that time. That's a whole day of a normal work schedule that you're taking to making a live stream. And so the question you have to ask yourself is that once a month the right amount of time to invest? What do you think?
Well,
Once a month?
the reason I chose once a month is because my videos come out roughly once a month. So that means that there's like an obvious thing to talk about every month. But also it means that my subscribers kind of get this idea that they can build a relationship. Because when you have live streaming, one of the things that makes it so great is that you can directly talk to your audience and they can
Right.
talk back to you. And I feel like doing that once a month is a really great idea for what I hope to do is just help build community. All of these ideas that I'm pushing forward are to help build community.
Yeah, I know how you feel, man. I'm the same way, and I don't mean to detract from your community building desire, because I share that same desire. But yeah, once a month perhaps, maybe once every 2 months. I guess the question you have to ask is what do your subscribers, what does your community appreciate more? Seeing your face once a month and getting some questions answered, or getting more content, right? Because if you could take that time and upload one extra video, then what would be better appreciated by your audience? I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe the live stream is the right answer. But just finding that balance, I think, would be the big challenge in integrating that idea into your channel.
Yeah, a few hours once a month will total to like a day of the year.
Yeah.
And also it's also on Sunday, which is never a particularly productive day anyway. So I thought it'd be like it's a good way for me to be doing something for the channel when like, most people are just having super lazy Sunday afternoons.
And your plan, just to be clear, I didn't realize this was possible. You're saying that you can live stream from your channel and not actually have the video listed on your channel.
Well, yeah, just after it's over, you just make the video unlisted.
Okay. Would it not? I don't know, because I know YouTube wants to push live streaming, but I also know that if we go back to the reverse engineering the YouTube algorithm article that we always bring up on this podcast, one of the things is how engaged were your subscribers with your previous upload, and that will have an effect, either positive or negative, on your subsequent uploads. And if you're uploading things that people don't want to watch, or maybe a certain number of people do want to watch, but not everyone, if you do that too often, are you maybe hurting your channel by like having less than 10% of your subscribers come out to see a piece of content, even if you do unlist it afterwards?
Well, I think if it's unlisted, it doesn't count in like that part. But like when it was live, like I imagine that it's not that they've written something in for people who want to live stream, but then don't want to
Publish.
immediately syndicate it. Because like
Yeah.
channels like Game Theory do that all the time. Like almost daily, Game Theory is doing a live show, and they don't post it after it's done.
Yeah.
And I think that that's good. And the thing is, what you can do is then you can download the MP4 of the stream. And this is my plan. This is kind of why I'm making...
Edit it together.
Yeah, this is why I'm thinking of making a highlight reel that I can release maybe like halfway through the next month. So at least, they at least had something in the feed 2 weeks later. But then I could take the full stream immediately and put it on that channel I was talking about, Step More Back. So if you are a diehard Step Back fan, you really want to see it, it's somewhere.
I really want to lobby you to create Step Further Back and not Step More Back, but that's... I'm just kidding. So you've heard me and Tristan, we've kind of gone back and forth on this. I honestly having had this conversation with you, I definitely am a little bit more interested in the live streaming thing, but I just don't know. So I leave it to the union here listening, you, Tim, and Tina, yeah, Tina and Tim. Write us, ytunitedpodcast@gmail.com, and tell us what you think about live streaming, if you have any experiences, or at YT United Podcast on Twitter. Let us know what you think, because I'm a little bit torn. I, of course, would love the opportunity to engage more with my audience. I'm a seldom uploader, but I also, yeah, you've already heard what I have to say. I'm just time conscious at the moment. Where is my time going in these sorts of endeavors?
That's a good I think that in the end, the value it would have to your community is worth the time, the relatively small time investment as far as like video content goes, and the
Oh
building of
man,
the community
yeah.
and building fans and building those super fans who share your stuff, shout you from the mountaintops is more than worth it. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea of having a piece of content that is, what, an hour long, that took an hour, is amazing. Because I don't know how many hours go into 1 minute of my content, but I imagine it's more than one.
This is why video game YouTube channels are so successful.
Yeah,
They publish like 20-minute videos every day. Just imagine how much
more.
watch time that is.
Yeah, more than that. And oh my God, yeah. Anyway, cool stuff. Let us know what you think, everybody.
Yeah, so let's close down and tell you guys, if you have any subjects that you want us to talk about on YT United, on YouTube, YouTubers United, join the union. Send us an email at ytunitedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you have a channel that you want us to look at, we're always building a bank of those YouTube channels that we give reviews and advice to. So if you want to do that, also ytunitedpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on youtubersunited.com. That's our website where you can find this whole podcast. So listen to all the episodes that you missed out on. And we're YT United Podcast on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want to listen to this podcast on YouTube, you can actually subscribe to us on YouTube. There's a YouTubers United Podcast on YouTube as well.
Okay, yeah, before we go, everyone, there's if you're still listening, thank you for staying towards the very end. I appreciate it. We're having a special guest. There's going to be a special episode of the YouTubers United podcast. So stay updated. If you're listening to this on YouTube, hit that notification bell. One more. We just talked about how to reduce the number of calls to action, and here we are giving them 20. But hit that bell, everybody, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Goodbye. Adios.
Adios, amigos.